how did this come about? And tell me about your first meeting with Edward Snowden.
The movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I wanted to get involved. I was certainly admired what he did because I think I felt strongly that this was going on. I sensed it, and I think a lot of us did, and I think he proved it. And he proved it worse than it was worse than we thought. And the depth of his findings have still to be completely revealed. It's a monstrous turnaround for our country. Anyway, those are feelings of a citizen. But as a filmmaker, I have another role to play, and that's to tell a story. And I have to divorce. As you know, I did a movie about George Bush, which I was criticized for being, I think, empathetic to him. Empathetic mean
Empathetic to him?
Empathetic.
Really?
Which is to say, not sympathetic, because I think he was one of the worst presidents we ever had. Yeah. Next to, anyway.
Next to who?
Next to, no.
Next to who?
Please, Stephen,
okay.
Stick to the point. The point is that...
Not Obama. Don't worry, I'm just teasing you.
I'm trying to say that with Nixon too, my father had doubts about. I do severe. I think Nixon was also a disaster. I really do, and he betrayed the Vietnam War completely. But in that movie, you saw a man who was suffering, much more so than George Bush. George Bush did not have that degree of compassion, a degree of torture, of self-torture at all. He was not a conscious man that way. So I love those two. They're two portraits of people that are empathetic, walk in their shoes. And I'm not taking positions. I'm walking in those shoes. That's my job. I'm a dramatist. Same thing with Snowden. There's going to be arguments for, against, hero, traitor, all that stuff. I'm really not interested. I know what I think, but I wanted to show the story. Using scenes like that brief scene, there was a cut in there, but it was okay. It was for a clip. But this fellow who was talking to him, he was his teacher back at the CIA. He was his original teacher, and he comes back into the story because he works in the Intel Round Table, and he plays the role of stating to some degree the NSA position here. Security. Americans don't care about security, and that is a key argument, and he makes it. He also says it elsewhere. He talks about the Iraq War in very realistic terms. He talks about the commitment to defend the country. This is a big issue, of course. I talk to people all the time, and they tell me, well, I want security. I want security. They don't realize that it's at any cost. Anyway, the point is, it's never simple, this whole thing. And the Snowden movie was attacked that way. Let's tell it as we think it happened, off the public sources, off journalism, off of Snowden's observations, as well as a lot of them.
But you said you weren't sure if you were going to do it. So why did you decide to do it, or what was the tipping?
Yeah, well, when I met him, he certainly was. He was wary. I was wary. We met in Moscow, and it took 2 more meetings over the course of the next few months before we both felt comfortable enough to go ahead, and we went ahead. Then it became a real slog because it was hard work. He's a very smart young man and very courageous, obviously, but he wants it straight. He wants to get as much as he can straight. So he was correcting a lot of stuff in the screenplay that people, there's so many cliches about computer work and the NSA. So we had to we tried to make it as realistic as possible, given the means of movies.
Did he have any kind of script approval?
No.
Did you have to buy his life rights from him or something?
No, we bought it from. The book that was written by the Guardian. We paid the Guardian.
Huh. So go back to your first meeting. How do you set up a meeting?
He said, incidentally, in the Comic-Con, you were there, I think.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, he did say that he accepted in his heart that a movie would get made, and he said there was sort of an inevitability about a movie getting made. He didn't have any rights because he's in exile and so forth and so on. So he knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how did you set up that first meeting?
The first meeting was set up through the Russian lawyer who had contacted me because he wanted to sell me his book, which he had written about Snowden. But it was a fictional book. He had fictionalized it. It was an interesting Russian novel, very Dostoevskian in the sense that it's all, none of it is realistic. It's about a young man from America who comes over and reveals a 1984 world, very Orwell, and fascinating conversations. I didn't know at that point in time whether we were going to make a fictional movie with an unnamed character, or else we would make the story as realistic as possible about Snowden, because I didn't know if Snowden would cooperate. So that was
And
the
where
game.
did you meet, and what was that first conversation about?
Where we met in Moscow.
In a restaurant, in a public
No,
place?
no, no. In a secure place, I can't reveal.
Okay.
And it
Just the
comes-
two of you?
yes, yes.
What surprised you about him?
At the first meeting would be his wariness. I don't think he was comfortable with the idea of a movie at that point. He's into reality, and the concept of a movie to him is so foreign to him. I think he had seen a piece of the untold history of the United States, which I had done. That was that 12-part series, and I think he was impressed with it.
And you said that was the first meeting. Did he change as you in the next meetings?
Yeah, it got warmer, but it took time.
Was there anything he strongly objected to in the original script?
There were things, but we talked them out.
Did you have to show it to the CIA, or did you have to run it past any? No.
I went there years ago with Platoon. I went to the Pentagon. I got their notes, and it was hilarious. You should see that.
Wow.
Every use of an expletive was, it's an idealized form of behavior. Unfortunately, it's taken hold in the movie business. What you're seeing is bullshit. And a lot of the war pictures you see, you don't get, you get it after the Pentagon has sanitized it. And they lie. They lie. As long as it is pro-American, that's all that matters. I mean, whatever, the Taliban, lone survivor, you can kill 20, 30 Taliban for every American who gets it. It's overdone. As American Sniper is another one, and there's a lot of disingenuity about that. And those are other issues. So the Pentagon has taken over, CIA has taken over Hollywood in that sense. 24, Homeland, it's all CIA.
Did you get
It's
any?
just bullshit. Honestly, America is fed bullshit, and we buy it.
Did you get any
No other
attempt?
alternative.
Did you get any attempt at interference from the CIA, the NSA?
Did I get interference? No, and the CIA? No, I hope not.
None that you're aware of.
None that I'm aware of. No.
They weren't tapping your phones while you were talking to Snowden or
We
anything.
assumed they might, but we proceeded on the basis of honest. We're making a movie. We went there on that basis, and as I said, I think the biggest problem in the end turned out to be the self-censorship of scared American corporations, and that's the truth about our society.
Now, what is the proof of that as opposed to maybe they just didn't think this was commercial?
Do you really believe that? At the price we were offering and the script the way it was, it's very hard to believe, considering the pap that they make.
And
I think
every studio,
there was a political factor.
every studio turned you down. Every studio turned you down.
Yeah.
What about actors?
No, it was never an actor movie that way. I had gone to Joseph, who was not considered a star at that time. And I had gone to Joseph early, and I said, I think you're the only one who can do this. That was probably a mistake, but
He's very, very good.
he turns out to be very good. And Shailene Woodley wrote me a beautiful letter and wanted to be in the movie. But that was, if I'd gone the star system, it might have been very difficult. You're right.
What was your toughest moment in making the film once the money was in place?
It's a catalog of horrors,
Really?
But basically, we made it. We started in the winter in Germany. We shot it in Germany because we based it as a German company. My producer wanted to be out of the United States to make it. But it was every day. I could not get behind budget. We had no money to complete. When you work for a studio, you generally can get some, right?
Extra money.
You get help. And during the course of the movie, I knew my mother was on her way out, and I had said goodbye before I left, but I was in Germany when she passed, and I couldn't go back for the funeral because I would have had to cut like 4 days of film, and we couldn't afford it. We were so tight. That was hard, among other things.